welcome to the Witch's Cauldron. Today's video is another in my series on the Sabbats, and this is because of timing. When I'm filming this, there are like a couple of weeks left until Samhain, or what is most commonly known as Halloween. Now, Samhain is the witches and Wiccans' New Year. The harvests are over. That some people consider this like the third harvest, because the final, apples are coming in, your root vegetables have all been harvested, and you're storing everything away for the winter. Okay. It's also the time of year when the god dies, okay, to be reborn at Yule, okay, and the goddess begins in kind of her crone phase, getting in there, but she is already pregnant with the god to be reborn at Yule. Okay, I know that sounds a little confusing, but as we get through the entire wheel of the year, then you'll be able to understand it a little bit better. And just a reminder, the Sabbats primarily involve the god and his cycle of life and death and rebirth. And the goddess is affiliated with lunar cycles, in other words, moon cycles, through the various phases, through maiden, mother, and crone each month. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of background for those of you who may not be studying this path but are curious about it. Now, as I said, the god dies at Samhain. So one of the major overarching themes for Samhain is preparing for the winter, death, transformation, and that's death and transformation so that you can be reborn. It's working with ancestors that have passed on, giving homage to them. It's doing spirit work. So in every year, as you go from midsummer, which is the summer solstice, through the fall equinox and into Samhain, the veil between this world and the spirit world thins. And the night that it is the thinnest is on Samhain. So you can usually see an increase in, say, people that have close to you that have passed away coming to you in dreams, and you having very, very vivid dreams, like you're having conversations with them. You can also notice more activity if you happen to live in a house that has spirits that like to hang around. You can see increased activity. I live in an area where literally I'm in the middle of a battlefield. So I have a lot of stuff that goes on in this area. But in our traditions, there are several things that we do, and I'm going to call them correspondences, the types of rituals that we usually do, like types of incense you can make, types of activities you can do this time of year. There are even a couple of books that I'm going to recommend to you. So if you really want to get into studying Wicca and witchcraft and learning more about the Sabbats, Llewellyn has a great series. And this one, this one is on Samhain. They have one of these books for each one of the Sabbats associated with the Wheel of the Year. These are awesome little books. They've got activities, they've got recipes for food that you can fix. It explains the traditions, like the really old traditions and the more modern traditions. There is also Silver Ravenwolf. Many, many years ago, Llewellyn did another series on the Sabbats, and they got a different author to write the book for each one of the Sabbats. And Silver Ravenwolf did this one. And I cannot get stuff in frame to save my soul. There we go. And this one, I do not believe it was published by Llewellyn. I do not believe that it is in print anymore, but a lot of times you can still find like used copies of this on eBay. You can often find them really cheap at thrift books, and you can also find used copies on Amazon. But I'm not sure if this one is still in print to like get a brand new copy. I didn't check and see. But the little Sabbat books by Llewellyn, those are still in print. And I'll tell you, those two series are the best books that I have ever checked out, and that's why they stay in my personal collection. I haven't gotten rid of them or anything because I refer to them all the time. Okay. So there are several names for Samhain. And Celtic and Gaelic, it's Samhain. In Wales, however, it's Samhain. It's called a fire festival. It's called Halloween. It's called the All Hallows Eve. The next day is All Saints, All Souls Day. This is the Witches' New Year. It's the Celtic Druid New Year. It's called Shadowfest in Strega. Let's see. It's called Hallowtide in Scottish Gaelic kind of traditions. The Feast of All Souls. Dia de los Muertos is this time of year. And it's the Night of Mischief or Confusion. So there you go. And the Welsh sometime also refer to it as the Night of Winter Calends. So a lot of the rituals that are associated with Samhain involve honoring the end of summer and preparing for the winter to come, honoring the dead, scrying, divination, last harvest, and it's also the meat harvest, because a lot of times you would butcher animals, then smoke, salt, preserve the meats to get you through the winter. Okay. And I know now, a lot of Wiccans are vegan or vegetarian. So, that's, a lot of people don't practice that part. The incenses that you can make up are great. So these are copal, sandalwood, mastic resin, benzoin, sweetgrass, wormwood, and that's WORMWOOD, me and my southern accent. I know a lot of times people have a hard time understanding what I'm saying. Mugwort, MUGWORT, sage, myrrh, as in frankincense and myrrh, and patchouli. And the incense that I typically use this time of year is sage, myrrh, patchouli, and sandalwood. That is without a doubt my go-to Samhain incense. The tools that are typically associated are the broom or besom, the cauldron, tarot, doing tarot readings this time of year as a form of divination, gazing into an obsidian ball, in other words, crystal gazing, which is a form of scrying, doing divination using a pendulum, casting runes, Ouija boards, if that is your thing. Personally, not my thing, but no disrespect to anybody who uses them. Um, a black cauldron or bowl filled with water, usually with a little bit of black ink tinting the water, and or a black mirror, which is simply, like a piece of glass that's been painted with reflective black in a frame. Okay, on the back, painted on the back. The stones and gems associated with Samhain are black obsidian, jasper, carnelian, onyx, smoky quartz, jet, and bloodstone. The colors that are associated with it are black, orange, and red. Symbols. So it is apples, apple dishes. I typically make a fresh apple cake this time of year, and I incorporate that cake into my cakes and ale. It's apple cider. So instead of ale or a spirit of that kind, I have apple cider at Samhain. Meat and meat pies, or the meat specifically is pork. That is typically a tied to Samhain. Mulled cider with spices, and this is where you can incorporate some of the other spices and stuff like that. Especially cinnamon and nutmeg in your mulling spices. Nuts, and nuts represent resurrection and rebirth. Okay. Pomegranates. I love pomegranates this time of year. So as it gets closer to Samhain, I will get fresh pomegranate and add it to my altar. Potatoes, pumpkins, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pie, roasted pumpkin seeds. Great to do this time of year. And squash. Those are great. And the symbols and decorations are apples, your autumn flowers. So think about chrysanthemums and things like that. Acorns, bats, black cats, bones and skulls, corn stalks, colored leaves, crows, things dealing with death and dying, divination and the tools associated with it. So in other words, tarot decks, crystal balls, scrying mirrors, scrying bowls. Ghosts or spirit gourds, Indian corn, jack-o'-lanterns. And that's not only carved out of pumpkin, but the first the first jack-o'-lanterns were done out of gourds. So others are nuts, oak leaves, scarecrows, scythes, and the waning moon. The goddesses that are affiliated with Samhain are crone goddesses, okay, primarily. Crone goddesses and goddesses of the death and underworld. So the most people, can have a deep affiliation with Hecate and Caradwyn. Arianrhod, which is a Welsh goddess. The Cailleach, which is she is a goddess that I work with quite a bit. Now, a lot of people are afraid to work with her because she is the quote unquote blue hag of winter. But don't be afraid of her. She's good to work with and help you transform and get rid of bad habits. Bast, Persephone, Baba Yaga, which is a Russian. Hel, which is Hel, which is a Norse goddess. Kali. So those are, a lot of the crone goddesses and death and underworld, otherworld goddesses. The gods are the horned hunter in European traditions, Cernunnos in the Gaelic Celtic, Osiris, Hades, Gwynapnud, which is a British, Anubis. Native American is Coyote Brother, Loki, the trickster in North mythology, Iran, which is Welsh, all the dying, aging gods, and then death and otherworld or underworld gods. The herbs and flowers that are typically associated with this Sabbat of Samhain are almonds, apple leaves, bay leaves, calendula, which is a fancy name for marigolds, cinnamon, cloves, garlic, ginger, hazelnuts, hemlock, cones, mandrake root, mums, chrysanthemums, mugwort, and mugwort is used in the incense to help with your divination. Mullein seeds, Mullein, and mullein is a herb that is primarily, you can use it to treat like mucous membrane issues and make a really great like eye wash with your allergies with it. And it here in Virginia, it actually like grows in or near the ditches alongside a road. So you can see the large like cone of the mullein coming up. And, you know, there have been several times that I've just, you know, pulled off on the side of the road, walked up and harvested mullein, dried it, and had it ready for this time of year. Another is nettle, passion flower, pine needles, pumpkin seeds, rosemary, which is for remembrance of your ancestors, rue, sage, sunflower petals and seeds, tarragon, wild ginseng, because this was the time of year where I'm from in the mountains of West Virginia. There was a very short period of time of about 6 to 8 weeks where now you can legally harvest ginseng. It's very, very controlled. And wormwood is the last. Now, many of those herbs are ones that I incorporate in my Samhain feast. So a lot of times I will do a pork tenderloin that has tarragon, sage, garlic. I'm trying to think. Those are primarily the ones that I do, along with, you know, salt and pepper. Did I say rosemary? I think I did, but I'm not sure because I'm a dingbat. But I typically do a pork tenderloin. I roast potatoes and include garlic on them. I do a fresh apple cake. The apple cake has those cinnamons that you typically, you know, see, cinnamon, and ginger and a little bit of nutmeg. I typically drink like ginger teas, ginger honey teas this time of year. Sometimes I will put on some apple cider and put that ginger in with it with some honey and have apple, honey, and ginger teas. Also, I usually like will do a squash, usually like a fried squash or a baked squash, something like that. Okay. And I'm going to get into the animals. The animals associated with Samhain are the stag, cats, bats, owls, jackals, elephants, ram, scorpions, herons, crows, and robins. Now, the mythical beings that people that are associated with Samhain are pukas, goblins, Medusa, the banshee, and in Gaelic it's spelled Bansidhe, but that's banshee, okay? And harpies. Now, the essence of things that we do: magic, having plenty, getting through the winter, knowledge, the night, death and rebirth, protection spells, rest for you and your body, ancestors, lifting of the veil, return and change, transformation. Okay. When you are in this time of year, this is a time of year to do some introspection, to look at death and transformation, to make your goals, because it's the Wiccan New Year. Make some goals for the coming year. And they don't have to be huge goals. It can be, very small attainable goals. But it encourages you to take a look at yourself and maybe even do some shadow work. Your shadow side is the side of you. Those are the attributes that, you're not exactly proud of. Okay. Like anger and, jealousy and things like that. This is the time to work on your shadow self. Now, the type of magic that works really well this time of year, one is sex magic, releasing your bad habits, banishing, divination. Candle magic is great this time of year. Astral projection, past life regression, mirror spells, in other words, reflection, protection, clearing obstacles out of your path, uncrossing. So if you feel like somebody's like put the mojo on you and cursed you, this is the time to do your uncrossing. Okay. It's about manifesting and transformation, creative visualization, and contacting those who have passed on, honoring your ancestors. The customs for this Sabbat are having ancestor altars, wearing costumes, doing divination, carving the jack-o'-lanterns, having what's called a Feast of the Dead or a dumb feast. And I do this every year. When I have my dinner on Samhain, I fix a plate where no one is sitting at my table. And then after dinner, I take it and I put it outside for any of the ancestors who come by to partake with the meal with us. Okay. I also take this time of year to like dry herbs in my dehydrator, to make a mask. It's a time to play apple games, do tricks. It's a time to wash clothes. So this is a good time for, like getting your bedding and stuff like that cleaned. So the most powerful time on Samhain is at midnight. So if you can, do your rituals and your honoring to the god and the goddess at midnight. Now, I'm going to talk about some of the things I've already talked about, my meal and everything like that. I do take time there's one thing that I do that is affiliated with like hoodoo and conjure magic. To keep evil spirits out of my house, you take an apple, you cut it not lengthways through the cores, but across, so that you see like the 5 seeds, you see the pentagram in the middle. Put a fresh sage leaf in there, and then take toothpicks and hold it together and put it out on your front porch. And that will keep away the trickster spirits for the night. This is also a time when I do a lot of cleaning and doubling down my protections and wards for my house. I recharge my amulets and talismans, that kind of stuff. So there you go, guys. Try to embrace doing different things, incorporating kitchen witchery, focusing on the household protection. Try a new method of divination. Try to become better aligned with the method of divination that you just didn't click with before. This year I'm going to try and work with runes, because my go-tos are scrying and tarot. And I'm going to try and embrace the runes this year. So try and work on yourself. Set your goals up, because then through the coming year, and each time that the wheel turns, you can reassess and see how your goals are going. Okay. All right, guys, that's it for this episode on the Wheel of the Year and the Sabbat of Samhain. I hope you all are well. And as I say in these videos, merry weeded meet, merry weeded part, until we merry meet again. Be well and walk in love and light, everyone. Bye.